Hey everybody, quick disclaimer before the podcast starts. We just want to let you know that we're very aware that the audio and video quality aren't that great, but we're working on it and we'll be having better quality stuff coming up soon. Um, Also, we weren't able to get to all the questions, but we are going to get to the rest of them in future episodes. So enjoy. Thank you. All right, so should we do a quick little introduction? You want to do it this time?
All right. Welcome to the Two Islands podcast. I'm Richie.
I'm
Here
Julian.
with my co-host.
Well, I'm Julian.
So you're just gonna cut me off, okay? How's it, everybody? How's it? This is the second episode of the podcast.
If this podcast ever blows up, you might get the chance to see the first one. But as of now, that thing is staying hidden under the rug and it's never
Bro, the
coming
first
out.
one is absolutely in the archives, deep in the dungeons, bro.
All right, you want to get to these questions?
Yeah, bro. We got some viewer submitted questions and topics. Gonna go through a few of them. Get that part out.
How to stay busy and creative during lockdown?
Okay. Huh. Well, what a fantastic question.
All right. So do you want to start off, Richie? What have you been doing to keep so busy?
All right. So, well, other than hitting up Julian to start up this podcast, which was, I guess, one of the products of being bored in the house bored.
Okay. Sorry.
Came out of quarantine is definitely finding different hobbies and kind of just like doing personal, not sound like a Ivy League scholar, but like diving into a topic and really just like learning as much as you can about it. And for me, I guess in the beginning of quarantine, that was cars, because I'd always been a fan of cars since I was like really little, like literally as young as I can remember, like 3 or 4. I had this like not life size, but like toddler size truck that was full of smaller cars in it. And so it had like different hot rods, like other older types of vehicles in it. And so from a really young age, I've always been into cars. And I guess over quarantine, I was like really interested in like getting my license and having my own vehicle. And just, it was really a result of like, I think me wanting to be more free and like less constrained than in my house. So it was like a vehicle gives me access to like wherever my pedal takes me on the road, I'll be there. So it's like a car, and just doing research on cars really became something that I invested a lot of time to in and outside of class. And now I can like name a bunch of different car models from the 90s to now, and like should a 4-cylinder engine be in this type of car, and which types of car are most reliable over time, and like taking apart a car. So
That's cool.
I guess to put it short, I like really got invested into everything that has to do with vehicles. And now I'm going to be taking my driver's test in a few days. And fingers crossed I'm going to pass. I guess in terms of staying occupied, it's really just finding something that you're interested in and putting in as much time as you feel is necessary to learn as much as you want to learn about it. And I know that can be hard with like having Netflix right there and just like going through trying to find that next show.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important to just take time away from Netflix, where it can just become not just entertainment, but like a complete time suck out of the day, and just like thinking about something that you either started and dropped, like guitar or drawing or whatever it may be, something that you may have begun but abandoned for whatever reason, and just like going back to it and seeing, do I still like this now?
Yeah. I think as far as mental health goes, like while in quarantine, we're all extremely bored, right? I think So a little rut that I got into was always thinking that I need to be productive, or I needed to be doing something, um, as opposed to just doing things that made me happy, you know? And it sounds cheesy, but like I just put a lot of pressure on myself to be industrious, you know? Um, and to have something tangible or something like or kind of worth speaking of, um, coming out of quarantine, because I'm thinking about, oh, like in for years to come, in interviews, people are going to be asking, oh, so what did you do over quarantine or during coronavirus or stuff like that, and
Yeah.
you don't want to say, oh, I started a garden, but I mean that's what I did. I just think it's important when I put myself under all that pressure. Um, I felt like I was really putting my effort into distracting myself as opposed to giving myself time to decompress and really enjoy myself. I think back to a lot of the times when I was younger where there's so much less pressure. And I feel like I enjoyed life a little more, you know?
Hmm.
Um, but I also had so many less distractions. Um, so, because what I liked doing when I was younger is I could just stare into space and daydream for hours and hours and hours. And that brought me a lot of peace, you know, just digging around in the sand or in the grass or stuff like that. Um, and I've been trying to do more of that, like just taking time to myself just to like sit and hang out, you know, doing my gardening and things like that. And I think as far as your mental health goes and getting the most out of this time away from your social life and away from work and the structure of your normal life, I think it's good to take time to just spend some time with yourself, you know. Don't try and distract yourself. Don't be afraid of being unproductive, because that's the rut that I fell into. And it ends up
Yeah.
making you feel pretty junk about life. You know, like I was really hoping I'd do something groundbreaking today, but I sat inside and I watched Netflix all day again. You know, if you love music, maybe pick up a guitar, you know. If you like drawing or art, start drawing again. Um, I started writing. I started doing like more creative writing because it just felt good for me. And I started daydreaming more like I was when I was a little kid. I just thought back to what are the things that brought me peace and contentment when I was younger and I didn't have all these things to worry about. And that's what I did. And that's what kept me
Yeah.
busy, you know?
Definitely.
Because as an adult, you have these adult pressures. And I always thought, like, why am I not as content with my life as I was when I was younger? Like, I always felt more sure of myself, more calm, more even keeled, everything like that. But it was because I feel like I knew myself a little better when I was younger because I always took time to myself to just think about things, you know? Um,
Yeah.
and I put all this pressure on myself to make something happen. You know, with technology, you always have access to something. You can always be doing something. And when you have that pressure, you don't you don't take time to really enjoy little things. And there has been like a generational psychological change in us because we aren't taking that time as most people before us did to just sit and think and look at your surroundings, you know? Like you don't have Aristotle's anymore or Einstein's that just sat and thought about things, you know?
Right.
Um, and I think it's a lot more valuable than people think. Like you might feel like it's a waste of time, but you sit down, even like okay, for example, this is something you can do every day, and it brings me a lot of peace. Um, and it happened during the term when I couldn't fall asleep because I was super stressed. I would just stare at my ceiling and just think about stuff, think about myself, um, think about my day and everything like that. It brings you a lot of peace. You know, that's what I would recommend to fill your time.
Yeah, I
You as in
think
the viewer.
just to drive that point home, the idea for this podcast really just came from me taking time to just like think about what I wanted to do. Just because like I did have that same pressure that you were talking about, where people
Yeah,
are like in the house and they're
in
like,
the house.
okay, I need to do the next groundbreaking thing right
Yeah,
now. I have all this time in my hands. Something amazing needs to come out of it. And
something you can put in your resume.
right, exactly. Something you can put on your resume. And I know a lot of people, or I feel like a good amount of people our age are feeling that pressure because they hop on LinkedIn and they see
Yeah,
all these different people starting this new position at, and it's like, I'm not really not starting a new position, not in an internship, don't have my life planned out. What am I doing right now?
Yeah.
And those thoughts really can come into your head. And I think it's important just to take some time, really just think about what you like doing. Just
Yeah.
because for me, it was really just I like talking and I like talking with my friend Julian. And I was
Yeah.
like, huh, our conversations are always interesting.
Hmm.
Like, I feel like we have a good dynamic. Why not start a podcast?
Yeah.
And it was as simple as that, and it happened. And it's just like, it's just interesting to think that, especially because we'd been talking about starting a podcast during winter term, and we just didn't follow through with it. And that idea kind of came back to me as like, no, we should really start a podcast.
Yeah.
I don't
Like
know.
I'm on the same page. Um, like what you're saying, the basis of this podcast is just to give us really, and people who may have the same feelings as us, like a space to just air out these thoughts. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be political per se, or it doesn't have to be religious or about morality or anything like that, but just like a place for you to air out your thoughts about stuff. Because I don't know, like you ask yourself, why do we feel like we don't have access to a space where we can freely do that? But we just, I don't know, it just feels like we don't have that space. So that's what this podcast was about. When I talk about certain stuff, like you can tell, I get really into it. And it just, I feel such gratification of just getting all that stuff out of my head. And I feel like we have good ideas, that that resonate with a lot of people. And if I can share that, and if I can feel like those people, if they share the same thoughts and feelings that we do and we're airing it out for them, I feel like that can bring them that type of relief that it brings me when I talk about it. um,
Yeah.
so that's, and like you said, killer dynamic. I feel like we have some pretty interesting conversations. So um, I feel like it all came together pretty nicely. um, and it's something that's inspired me, to really get moving, especially for you and I, people who don't really, on top of not doing anything this summer, really, we also don't really have an idea of what we want to
What
major in.
we want to major in. Like,
So
oh
this
my
is,
gosh.
yeah. So this is also us kind of trying to find our way as far as what we're passionate about, what we like doing, and things like that. Um, so maybe this can also be a lesson to other people, just doing things that might seem like a waste of time, like doing a podcast. Like I can't say like who's to say that this podcast will ever become anything other than like a small YouTube channel that my friends at school see, you know? Um,
Yeah.
but I don't know, if so far, at least, even though we've only recorded 2 episodes, it's been a lot more than that for me. Um, it's just been a place for me to think my thoughts. And I like it a lot, having that freedom.
Yeah. Just because I always feel like there's a pressure to come off a certain way when you're speaking to anybody, even people that you'd identify as friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess for me, it was really important just be able to have that space where I can just freely be all of me.
Yeah,
And I
without
feel
getting
like this
canceled.
podcast, without getting canceled, of course, and I feel like this podcast, so far, we haven't been canceled, so far,
We
is
also
doing
haven't
that.
posted, but so please don't cancel us.
But yeah, I think that's part of the reason why we really just asked you all any topics, because this podcast, it doesn't have any specific intention or it doesn't necessarily have a agenda. And I think that's the most important thing. It's really just
I
us
agree.
talking about
Our
what we
opinions
want
on
to talk
things.
about.
Bridging perspectives, 2 islands, right?
Two islands, bridge perspectives, bridge cultures, bridge people.
Exactly. And you
Exactly.
know what? I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of people are lacking that space that we felt like we lacked. And by not, I don't want to say that we're giving people a voice because I don't want to put ourselves on that kind of pedestal. But I don't know. I really appreciate the interaction between ourselves and the people who hopefully are going to be watching our videos. Um, I hope that we can give you a space where you can think about these things more, and we'll prompt you to have these conversations with your friends. And well, Well, the lack of competition is really nice right now. If you want to start another podcast where you talked about your own thing, maybe like if you guys are both from New York, two boroughs, I don't know, instead of two islands, I'd be happy knowing that we have that influence. Um, because I feel like with the way that things are so charged nowadays, with everything having an agenda, it's difficult to have a space for those who don't have an agenda, don't know where they stand on certain issues. Not that this podcast is about tackling issues, but it's really just to give people a space to casually talk about stuff. Um, and I hope that us interacting with the audience is us in a way giving the audience that type of voice, you know?
Right.
And of course, we're always open to feedback. Please feel free to hit our lines on Instagram, DM us at Manu Kiavu. If you're
Rich Tatazir.
If you're watching this, then you probably have me on Instagram already. We're probably gonna make like a two islands email and Instagram or whatever. It's still to be determined, but yeah, feel free to reach out to us because even though we haven't posted anything, that type of interaction, like we really appreciate it, and it shows that other people are interested in just hearing what we have to say about things. And I think in a way, it's them being interested in the type of interaction that they can have with our opinions. Because, like Richie could say something and then someone who's viewing in, I don't know, wherever, they can be like, I agree with this part and I don't agree with that part. And that can be another discussion, which is a really awesome thing. If we can have that type of civilized discussion, we're not like going at each other's necks. You can be like, oh, Richie said something like this and I didn't necessarily agree with it. Here's my take on it. Then that's just two islands all over again, There's your perspective and there's someone else's. And if we can have that conversation, I think that's a beautiful thing.
Definitely. It's honestly just really great to have a space where I feel like I won't be
judged.
Judged if my opinions change. I think that's the most important thing. And that's something I want to reiterate with anybody who may be listening or watching or both to the podcast, is that our opinions may change over time. Like what I said today about any of the topics that we discussed may change.
And it's not about lacking accountability, right? This thing is about learning. Course. And I think that's the point that we're trying to make. Sorry to cut you off, but yeah.
No. It's definitely the point. It's just, it's a space where I can say my current opinion on a topic. And that opinion can change. And it's just important to understand that's okay. And I feel like what's been happening in media is that people are so entrenched in their ideas that even if they feel that their opinion may be changing, they don't necessarily want to say that because of how they may be perceived by others.
Yeah, being held accountable, especially with the way that things are now, like we're divided up into teams now. If you change your thinking or you try and evolve it in any type of way, you're a traitor,
Yeah.
And it should be like that, So, yeah, I guess the moral of it is I hope this podcast can be that type of space for you too, you as in the viewer. I really love doing this, sitting over here and talking about stuff. I'm sure Richie enjoy it. At least I hope he's enjoying it.
I mean, it could be better.
You could be gardening. I could be gardening. I haven't checked in my 3 tomatoes today yet. No, but I mean, all we can really ask for is your viewership and your consideration, your patience, and your opinion, really. We'd love to have more interaction because, like I said, if this can be a space where people can share their opinions, we'd love to have it,
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you made it this far, all I can say is thank you.
Yeah, honestly.
It really does mean a lot. We were talking about this earlier, right?
Oh, yeah, where it's just like, if we can reach, not even, like, we don't need to reach a massive audience, but if we can just have 20 people who take time out of their day to listen to any portion of the podcast and take something away from it, that's a complete success to me.
Yeah. Yeah. just it would be a great privilege. I hate to sound cheesy, but it is such a privilege to have your time and to consider how I feel about things and how Richie feels about things. Um, and our perspectives, our islands. Maybe we can build a bridge to yours. Here's our islands. Maybe we can build a bridge to yours. Put it on a bumper sticker, man.
Honestly, bro, that's got to be the first merch. Oh, no, just kidding.
No. I'm supposed to tell them about the merch. It was supposed to be a secret drop.
That's supposed to be a secret drop? Oh, shoot.
No, but really, it is such a privilege. I always thought that YouTubers are like cheesy. Like, I love every single one of my viewers. Like, shut up. No, you don't. Stop. Like, if anything, that just feels so ingenuine. Don't try and tell me that you care about me because you don't even know who I am. But while I might not know everyone who's viewing my video, I do really appreciate your time. Because this experience, we've only been doing this for like 2 episodes, like a combined 4 hours, really. Like, it's already meant so much to me. And if you take out your time out of your day to consider my opinion, if you enjoy it, dislike it, any opinion that you have on it, I really appreciate it.
And
yeah, and that's on period.
That's oh my gosh.
So that's the end of our first episode of Two Islands. Thank you again for everyone who's watching, and hope to see you in the next one. Thank you.